Please be seated if you're standing. Welcome again to another episode of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program Teacher Certification Course. As you know, as most of you know that are familiar with the Peaceful Solution, we've got more units to go through. This is the character unit that we're in, and we're about to finish up with, actually. It's been a great journey, and please pay attention to everything. The teachers that come and teach all are very experienced and have taught over and over and over again these very lessons to municipalities, schools, governments, individuals all over the world. So hopefully everybody that is paying attention and wanting to become a teacher also will do the same thing. So let's get started. Now, let's begin by turning to LP7D. LP7D. And this is the lesson plan, which you'll always want to look at, and as a teacher, have yourself ready to go. Notice one thing here in LP7D. We finished up on page 152 with William in the last class, and if you'll notice, if we look at procedure number 5, it's about halfway down. It says, have students turn to pages 150 to 152 in their handbooks. Okay, we've covered that. And now we're moving on to procedure number 6. And if you look about halfway down procedure number 6, you'll see it says have students turn to pages 155 and 156 in their handbooks. Well, where is 153 and 154? Well, this is another example of a continuation basically of the previous lesson. It's carrying through. So if we will, let's go ahead and turn to page 153. Page 153 starts out, if you have a teacher's manual, page 153. Page 153 starts out speaking to us about maintaining our positive moral character, and choosing friends that are also positive are important parts of growing up, no matter what age you are. Now, maintaining, I remember one of the previous teachers a few lessons back. It might have been William, could have been Catan possibly, but they were talking about maintaining your positive moral character is a lot like maintaining an automobile or any other piece of equipment, or maintaining your kitchen at home or something. You have to take care of things. They don't just take care of things by themselves. When it comes to maintaining a car, you've got to change oil, you've got to check the tires every now and then. You've got to check all the fluids. Every now and then it needs washed off probably to get the dirt off, clean the inside now and then. And I can guarantee you'll want to wash the windshield from time to time so that you can see where you're going. That includes on the inside too, get all that stuff off. But that's part of maintaining that automobile. And if you didn't maintain that automobile, guess what would occur? Well, William told us a little bit about a trip he had planned for, and left a little something out along the way, and you can have a breakdown. If it's not maintained, even if it's maintained very well, you could still have a breakdown. You can have one of those curveballs and pitfalls come your way, It does occur from time to time. So, and like William told us, well, it didn't have a tire or a jack or something like that, and whatever the case was. And I kind of think I was there, come to think of it. But anyways, those things occur, and it's great to have someone you can count on to help out when it does. But maintain your belongings, maintain the most precious belonging is that positive moral character that you're now forming. Now, we're also talking about choosing friends. Choosing friends that are also positive. That's an important part of growing up. And then from time to time, we'll want to remember to evaluate the things that are important to you and your friends. Friendships may start off positive, but if one or more of your friends neglect to guard their positive character and are influenced to do something that could cause harm, then you've got to be ready to be a leader and stand for what you know is right. You know, in fact, we covered that in the last chapter, you know, being a leader. Stand for what you know is right. Tell them what they're doing is wrong. You know, point out the consequences of their actions. And that's really all you can do. You can't force them to do what you want them to do, you know, whether they're going the wrong way and you're going the right way, whatever the case might be. You can't force it. That will never change their heart and mind. You could pull a gun out or something and tell them, no, we're going to do it this way, and that might change their mind for a minute just to, you know, just to continue living or whatever, but it's not going to change their heart. It's not going to change their mind to where they want to continue doing that. That's why we have the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. I know that's come up many times in classes about, well, yeah, force does work. You can make people do it this way. You know, well, no, that only works for a while. It only works while they're in front of you for the most part. Or it might work out of fear for a while. But when they, you know, when they think they can get by with it, it's kind of like breaking one of the traffic laws. Some of the traffic fines nowadays I hear are very expensive. Just a minor speeding ticket can be $300 or more. Now, I don't know about you, but that's pretty fearful to me. Even if I wanted to speed, I think I would slow down and drive that just out of the fear of getting one of those tickets. But, you know, you think about it. I mean, I do want to keep the rules. From time to time, I find myself, like others, you know, breaking the rule, not on purpose, but, you know, occasionally, and you find it and you say, oh, man, I need to change that. And that's some of those curveballs and pitfalls that come our way. And that's when we can, you know, set our mind in advance not to let that occur again and be determined to not let it occur again. And it's hard. It's not easy, you know. Getting back on the leader, be a leader and stand for what you know is right and tell them what they're doing wrong, point out the consequences of their actions, and let them choose. They will have to choose. So let's, in fact, let's turn back to chapter 6 for just a moment. I'll tell you what page in just a minute. I hope everyone read the narrative in chapter 6. It's fairly long, so it didn't get read in class, I don't believe, but if you read it as homework, it's a very great story of somebody who became a leader, didn't even know they were a leader, and in the end they find out, well, yeah, you know, I guess I am leading, you know, leading in the positive way. But let's go back. Okay. Page 125 is where I'd like to go. I can make a difference. I can make a difference. And it says, have you ever considered what the world would be like when you become an adult? Will technology have advanced and so forth? Let's see, halfway down it says, whose responsibility is it to ensure a safe world for you to grow up in? And the truth of the matter is, your future is too important to hope that someone else will make that difference, or that will make a difference. It's up to each and every person to consistently demonstrate the character skills that will result in peace between individuals, society, and the world. And then you turn to page 126, and the question is, who is a leader? And of course, it starts out with, take me to your leader, earthling. Apparently, even little green men know the value of leaders within a society, you know. And all throughout history, certain people were designated to guide and direct others in a particular direction, and these people were called leaders. So you think about it, you know, leaders are not defined by age, gender, or nationality, and the bold print there says that leaders are simply people who possess qualities and skills that motivate and encourage others towards specific goals. Well, that's what you're doing That's what you're doing whenever you're influencing somebody to do something. You know, you're being a leader. Now, you can lead in a negative way or you can lead in a positive way. And what we want to get to is always leading in a positive way. Now, remind them that their future is ahead of them. You know, point out the consequences, remind them. And whether they were listen or not to what you say at that time or not, don't take part in their weakness. Don't just go along with whatever your friends are doing just because they are your friends. So, on page 150 through 152 that William covered the last class, it gives a few scenarios of dealing with friends, you know. And some are positive, some are a little bit negative. You know, it shows you both ways. But I remember, this thing pops into my mind all the time when I hear about people stealing, especially children. And I remember in 6th grade, I remember that there was a store on the way to school. We walked to school and there was a store right on the way. And we would stop there every afternoon on the way back. You know, I didn't really have any money, but I would walk with different friends and we'd stop there. And if I did have some money, I'd get a Coke or something like that. But there was one particular friend that had a lunchbox with him. And I noticed every time we came from the store, he had a bunch of candy. Well, one time when I was in there and I saw him, he was filling that lunchbox with candy without paying for it. He was stealing. I was scared to death. You know, I'd never seen nothing like that or never done anything like that. Well, you know, I partook of that candy. And so there were a couple more times that took place, and again, I partook of that candy. On one instance, he got caught. I wasn't near him, but he got caught. I was scared to death. I ran out of that store, and I never thought about stealing something like that again. But that was as a child. And there was a lot of fear there within me. And, you know, I didn't know anything about choosing friends then. If I would have known what I know now about choosing friends because of the education that I've received in the Peaceful Solution program, you know, I would have run before... you know, the first time I ever saw something like that take place. I would have let him know, hey, what you're doing is wrong, and I'm not going to partake of this, and I'm not going to be around you if this continues. And that's what we have to do. Whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, doesn't matter how old you are. So don't just go along with it, whatever your friends are doing, just because they're your friends. And this doesn't just apply to stealing. It applies to all conduct. It applies to all character. It applies to whether your friends are showing disrespect to somebody. You know, well, tell them what they're doing is wrong and you don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to start a fight. You just want to tell them kindly that, hey guys, this is not the right way. You need to think about it and move along. So you're already aware of how a lack of self-control can cause harm to you and others. You must be determined to change those behaviors that do not promote true positive character and not give in to the negative influences. That word influences, and we've talked about influences some in this chapter, and that word influence, an influence is anything that can change the way that you think, that you feel, or the way you act. So it can change the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act. And in some of the classes, I remember some from a while back, we used to go into where that word came from, influence. It's from an old Latin word, influere. I think one of the other teachers mentioned it in the class about a month or so ago. But influere, which means to flow into. So if you think about an influence, and how you might not even notice it right at the time, but yet if you're around it, it can still flow into you, similar to the flu. If you think about it, that word flu is right in there, influere, flu, F-L-U. It flows into you, and you might not even know where it even came from. You might have touched the doorknob, might have been around someone when they sneezed, you know, whatever the case might be. But think about that. Keep that in mind, that an influence can change the way that you think, feel, and act. Keep in mind that courage, determination, and compassion for others are only a few of the positive character traits that you will need for your journey. A journey that will include your friends, so be prepared. And remember, your friends, the friends that you've chosen according to what you've been taught through the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. Looking back at that word, the determination, well, backing up a little, it says you're already aware of how that lack of self-control can cause harm to you and others, and those curveballs and pitfalls that come your way. In fact, let's turn to page 85, I think it is. 85. Page 85, the curveballs and pitfalls that can come your way. A curveball and pitfall, they're unexpected situations that can test your resolve to maintain a positive character. They can come up when you least expect them and can catch you off guard. Remember that. Suddenly you can find yourself in the middle of a bad scene, unprepared to deal with a situation that could lead you to making a bad choice that you will later regret. So with these unexpected situations that can catch you off guard, you want to be able to have your mind set in advance to guard against these things. Have your mind set in advance from possibly some past mistakes that you've made or something. You get determined to where you won't let that occur again, and you set your mind in advance to not let it occur. In fact, you might play some scenarios through your mind on how you'll handle it the next time. Yet, keeping in mind that you have to give yourself room to grow. Turn to page 88 there. Page 88. If you've ever said, I can't believe I just did that, that's not what I meant to do, well, you're not alone. Everyone says or does something that's wrong from time to time, okay? Everybody does. Sometimes, we get our values mixed up, or we're swayed by negative influences. Remember those influences? They come from all different areas. You might put yourself purposely in front of some type of bad influence, which I don't recommend doing. You need to set your mind in advance so that you don't do that. But you might find yourself around some negative influences when you're not really planning on it. This is why it's very important to think about what you do. Think about maintaining your property. Think about all the aspects of the peaceful solution that we're learning right now, and even more coming up, and you put them all together because they work synergistically. You can have, I learned a long time ago that I really don't loan my car out. When you think about it, when you loan your car out to somebody, you don't know what they're doing. They might be a close friend. They might be a family member. You don't really know what they're doing in that car. Now, hopefully we've gotten past that point where we've got, friends that are not practicing the peaceful solution. We want to have friends also that are trying to do everything that they can do to practice the peaceful solution also, and show respect and concern for belongings and so forth. But when someone gets in your car, they can do things, they can leave things behind that are possibly even illegal items. Or they could run a stop sign, and there's cameras out there now in municipalities, on the streets and on the highways, where they'll take a picture of your license plate, and guess who gets the ticket? You do. It comes to you in the mail. So you have to be careful about what you do, and that goes along with all this. If you value that friendship, it's probably best. I'm going to get off that, but if you value your belongings and you value your friendships, then you need to get some great counseling before doing something like that. Um, okay, so anyways, so back to the determination. Keep in mind that courage, determination, page 153, and compassion for others are only few of the positive character traits that you'll need for this journey, the journey that will include your friends, so be prepared. And that compassion for others, it doesn't mean that you see someone standing there with, a sign, need food, whatever, and you're giving $5 to everybody you see when you go by. It doesn't mean that. That's not being compassionate at all. In fact, again, without knowing about this person and what they practice, who knows? You might be giving them $5 or $20 or whatever to go to the nearest liquor store or the nearest crack house or something like that, and you haven't helped them a bit. You've showed them no compassion. In fact, you've shown them hatred in helping them along on the wrong path that they're on. So you have to be very careful. One of the first positive character trait that's mentioned in the Peaceful Solution is to be educated. To be educated. Now, that doesn't just mean to be educated, you want to know how to read and write and so forth, but be educated in the facts. Be educated in the facts of what's taking place before you make a decision to take action. And remember those influences that are trying to get you to take action. I've had people before, when I didn't want to loan them my car, come with every excuse of why I needed to loan them that car. Trying to play guilt, embarrassment, many different things, trying to play on my decision of what I decided, instead of them just saying, okay, I appreciate it, and moving on to the next person or whatever. That person is not a true friend that tries to do that, because they're trying to get you to do something that you don't want to do after you've already told them no. And there's nothing wrong with the decision of saying no, if it's right and proper. Let's take a look at something. On page 90, you can remember about, we don't have to turn there, but your reputation. You want to remember about whatever reputation you get. You might get a reputation of somebody that is not going to fall for something foolish. You might have a reputation of somebody that would fall for something foolish. You might have a reputation of somebody that doesn't mind stealing. You might have a reputation of somebody who stands firm against stealing in all ways. Your reputation is important, and your reputation does precede you, as it does talk about on page 90. So guard that reputation. And, again, they all work together. Your reputation can be formed from those that you're hanging out with. If you're hanging out with the wrong crowd, you might have a reputation of being just like that wrong crowd. Think about it. Well, let's look at the following article about some friends who made a choice that will cost them their futures. It says they will face adult charges. Now, interesting thing about this particular article is this occurred very nearby, in a suburb of Abilene, I believe, Wiley. 5 youths linked to the burning of Wiley Junior High have been indicted for arson, as well as organized criminal activity. In addition to the high school, they have also been linked, or junior high, they've also been linked to several other fires. The 3 16-year-olds in the group have had their case transferred to adult court. If convicted on all counts, the boys could face from 5 to 99 years in prison. And that was an article by KTXS.com, the newsroom article. So I'm sure not all of those 3 boys went out that night or that day with the intention of doing that. Or they might have planned it, but someone had to come up with that idea. It was probably one of those that came up with the idea. We don't have all the picture here, but you can readily assume, I think, that one person had the idea and the others thought it was great or not. But nevertheless, they did go and they did that thing. It didn't turn out too great for them. So, you got to be careful. You got to be careful about your friends, and you have to guard that great moral character that you're learning today. On page 154. Now, here's a bright idea. Dare to be different. You could save your future and someone else's. And I can tell you this, that practicing the peaceful solution, you know what? You're different. You're a very peculiar person if you're practicing the peaceful solution, because people, it's harder for a con artist to play a student of the peaceful solution. I'm not saying it can't occur, but it's much harder for them, because usually con artists are playing on emotion. They're playing on pride, excuse me. They're preying on, embarrassment or keeping up with the Joneses and so forth. They're playing on all these things, which, if you're a student of the peaceful solution, you should be practicing controlling your emotions and not making decisions based upon those emotions. In fact, let me see if I have this page in this book. If I do, I have to share it with you. I do. On page 172, if you have a teacher's manual, on page 172, you got to remember this. And I can tell you, I have a great friend that one day he wasn't doing so well, and he called the author of The Peaceful Solution and asked his advice. And he told him basically this same thing. He said, hey, snap out of it. I won't tell you the whole story. Might be he will one day. But he found this in the Peaceful Solution book. And instead of basing decisions on emotions, if you're a little bit emotional, you need to snap out of it, put the emotions aside before you make a decision based upon the facts that you have. So basing your decisions on facts, not emotions, is what builds true moral character. Remember that when you're choosing your friends. Remember that when someone's trying to get you to do something that you don't necessarily want to do. You are better able to make a perfect decision when you gather all the facts than a person who only has a portion of the facts. And that's why the first character trait mentioned in the list of positive character traits in the Peaceful Solution is to get educated. Get all the facts before you make your decision. So page 154, dare to be different. You could save your future and someone else's. And that's a road less traveled, actually. And on that road less traveled, it is a journey. Remember that journey that we call life. And it reminds us to pack our bags, as William covered recently. Pack those bags, make sure you got everything in there. If you're going on a trip, you're going to take all these things. Well, this trip we're going on is the journey of life, so we want to make sure we pack all our bags. If you turn to page 155, in fact, if you look there, of course, he doesn't have a bag packed there, but you can see this man doing some gardening there, and he's got all of his tools there. He's got them kind of packed up and ready to go for the job that he's doing, that journey of gardening there. He's got honesty, respectfulness, he's disciplined, patient, responsible, and he's got thankfulness that he's working with right there. See? You see that? You got to have those things. Pack them up and take them with you everywhere. Hang them on your doorpost, Use them when you go in your house and use them when you come out of your house. Use them when you're gardening, use them when you're working on the car, Have all these things. Thankfulness is an important part of all this, believe me. So we need to guard and protect our character that we're building, this positive character that we're building, by having, all these things with us. So since we are on this journey, the journey continues on page 155. Do you already have some idea about what you want to accomplish in life and how you want to continue gaining knowledge and developing moral character? Now, this might not have been important to you before. I'm going to read that again. How you want to continue gaining knowledge and developing moral character? Well, who in the world ever thought about gaining knowledge, and developing moral character? Well, it might not have been important to you before. But if you're watching today, or if you're sitting here at the headquarters of the Peaceful Solution, it has become important to you, which is great. So we're talking to you, the teachers out there. You got to get this across to the students too. So do you already have some idea about what you want to accomplish in life, how you want to continue gaining knowledge and developing moral character? Well, based on the information you've learned in this unit of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, you should now be motivated to make an effort to change the world and to make it a better place to live, not only for your generation, but for future ones as well. You've been given all the skills necessary for success. Excuse me. You've been given all the skills. You as teachers have been given the skills and are gaining even more tools and more skills for this success and for this journey that of life, and the journey that we're teaching, or we're teaching how to have a successful journey to the students, you know. Positive moral character traits have been clearly defined for you. The need to guard yourself and others from negative influences which lead to negative character is crucial throughout the rest of your life. That's why we talk so much about it. It is crucial. All it takes is one slip up to ruin your reputation. All it takes is one slip up to have a really bad scene. All it takes is one slip up while practicing some risky behavior. You know, I've had people ask me before, you know, what's wrong with racing a car? Well, what's wrong is most people don't even think. You know, they see races taking place on TV or whatever, and these cars are designed to go high speeds, from the tires to the bearings to every part of that car. It's designed for that purpose. The car you drive out here on the street every day is not designed for that. It's not designed to go 100 miles an hour, even though it will, most of them. It's not designed to go 120. It's not designed to go 150 or more. You can make modifications that might, you know, move it along the way a little bit, but there is not one of those that's designed to go that type of speed. And I can tell you something else, nor are the streets you would be driving on. So what's wrong with racing? You're taking your life and others' lives into your hands. And you might think it's okay to take your life into your hands, but you're also taking other people's lives into your hands also. And they might not have asked for that. That's what's wrong with racing. And that's what's wrong with all types of risky behavior. You have to stop and think about what's going on. You have to stop and think of what could occur. What are some of the consequences that could take place with the action that's coming up? You know, in the Peaceful Solution, we have an acronym. It's called the STOP acronym. And just think of a stop sign, S-T-O-P. It means to stop and think about the options that you have and then proceed with the proper choice. And so that's what I encourage you to do before taking part in risky behavior. Yeah, you got to leave yourself room to grow. Yeah, you've got to practice this Peaceful Solution, and you're going to make those mistakes along the way. But if you set your mind in advance and are determined not to follow alongside with others in some negative influence that comes your way, and practicing some kind of risky behavior, you know, then then you'll do much better. It's something that we all need to work on, avoiding all risky behavior. Okay, so let's go back to that paragraph. You've been given all the skills necessary for success. Positive moral character traits have been clearly defined for you, and the need to guard yourself and others from negative influences which lead to negative character is crucial throughout the rest of your life. As you apply these moral principles to your everyday routine, you will find they become habit. Keep in mind, though, we're using the word routine. So we get this routine and we get this habit of doing right? And then what comes our way? The curveballs and pitfalls, of course. So remember to have that mindset in advance. Others will notice a difference in your behavior and will be motivated to make positive choices that build moral character. This is part of the ripple effect. We studied that not too many chapters back. The ripple effect. What you do, whether positive or negative, has an effect on what other people do. There's an influence that's created by what you do, whether positive or negative. And so you want to be a positive influence to others. You can have an impact not only on your future, but also the future of those around you. Don't take these character tools for granted. Use them. These are the tools you'll need for a successful life. And, there's the picture again. So apply these moral character traits. Now, how do you do that? Well, the Peaceful Solution teaches us how to apply these traits. Actually, the scenarios and some of the stories that are given from experience of some of the teachers, you can take these things and you can use them to your advantage. Every one of us right now can look back in our lives and pluck out some experience. Use that subconscious mind there, pluck out one of those experiences that you can remember from whatever age, and look at it and say, okay, I could have done this differently. I could have done that differently, How would you have applied what you know now to that situation? Don't dwell on it if it's a negative situation. Use it for what it is. It's a learning tool. You did it. You can look back on it and see, what could I have done differently? How will I deal with it in the future if it comes my way? This is how we apply these moral character traits that we're learning. These ones such as honesty, steadfastness, impartial justice, courage, respect, patience, and self-control to succeed and achieve positive goals for yourself. Resist the urge to give in to any of that risky behavior. We've mentioned it a little bit, but if you want to, you can turn to page 1. Turn to page 1 in your book. And that's past the contents and the preface and so forth. Page 1. A few sad facts of life, and this is what we as teachers need to impart. We need to impart the knowledge that we have to help our students. A few sad facts of life. In a way, it's sad that we live in a society that puts so much emphasis on what people look like on the outside. All of us fall into that sometimes about how. But, also there's reasons. There's reasons that we want to look our best, We want to wear clean clothes today instead of the one that I worked on the car and shoveled a horse manure with. Instead of wearing those clothes the next day, I might want to change them, before I go to meet another teacher of the Peaceful Solution or go to a class or so forth. So we do care somewhat about these things, and they do have their place, but you can get carried away. Whether a person is popular, pretty, cute, athletic, tall, short, or fat, as if those things are things that really matter. It's even sadder that we sometimes feel forced to spend so much time fixing, molding, changing our outside appearances. The way we dress, speak, and walk just to fit in and be like everybody else, that's conformity. We want to have positive conformity. That's a fact. That's another lesson. But the saddest fact of all is that in the long run, changing the outside just to fit in without improving who we are on the inside, you could have a dirty, nasty cup, and If you just wash the outside of that cup, what are you going to do? Pour your lemonade or juice into it and drink out of it? No, you're going to wash the inside of the cup. In fact, that's more important than the outside because you're putting what you're going to drink in there. So we have to work on the inside first. So without improving who we are on the inside has caused many disappointments, lost friendships, and created bad scenes. And this is the risky behavior. So in case you're wondering what a bad scene is, it's the consequences of that risky behavior. It's the 1 million plus teen pregnancies a year, the 25,000 plus teens who are diagnosed HIV positive every year in the United States alone, the thousands more who die in drunk driving accidents, and the hundreds of thousands of teenagers who have to suffer through the divorce of their parents. What a nightmare. Or if one parent has died, one parent has, or there's been a divorce, it's a nightmare for children to go through. But it has occurred to many of us sitting in this room today. And so if it has, you know what a nightmare it is. Risky business, risky behavior. Anyway, it all eventually leads to war, confused minds, and killing, and everything else. So this is what we can learn to expect if we don't train now. So we have to, back to page 155, we have to resist the urge to give in to any risky behavior that could undermine all our efforts to develop our full potential. Remember that those who choose to develop negative character likely won't achieve their dreams. Moreover, they will bring hardship to their lives and to others. Life becomes a gamble for them. Constant gamble. Think about it. Those who are dishonest, cheat, and steal, eventually they get caught and suffer the consequences. Yes, like my friend in 6th grade did. He had some severe consequences to deal with when he got home, or when his parents came and picked him up from that store. Their whole lives can be ruined by one, let's turn to page 156, can be ruined by one single negative act. Developing negative character by allowing your mind to become influenced leads to risky behaviors such as drug abuse, consumption of alcohol, dangerous driving practices, and unhealthy relationships. This can then cause one to do something that he might regret for the rest of his life. And I've seen it. I've seen it take place. I've seen people die from doing these things. I've seen people's lives ruined from doing these things. Some mistakes or errors in judgment you might recover from, but some stay with you for the rest of your life. And that's similar to STDs. They stay with you the rest of your life. There's no easy Band-Aid, no easy fix to get rid of anything. If you have a prison record, it stays with you for the rest of your life. Focus on building and maintaining moral character every day. And this is the only way you can ensure that you will have a bright and positive future. Now, look at the cartoon there. It's just a little scenario showing someone that hasn't learned the peaceful solution, obviously, and someone that looks like they have or are well on their way. Hey, I bummed this joint from my sister. Want to get high? No, I'm not interested in that. Oh, well, you want to drink a beer instead? No, I'm not interested. Boy, it just keeps on coming, doesn't it? Well, we could hang out with Sean and Jason. Their parents aren't home. Nah, I'm not interested. Then what are you interested in? My future. You see that? She's walking away from it. She's turning away from the negative influence, and she was hit there with several choices too. There's a narrative on page 157. We're going to make that homework. You'll want to read that. The narratives in the Peaceful Solution, some of them are very long, and you wouldn't be able to go through them in class. We could have a little overview of them. But if you will read that, that's a pretty great one there. I know it talks about two different friends and how they, went through life and how things changed for one and how things went for another and how they met up later in life. Excuse me. For right now, let's turn to page LP1C. This is going to be real brief, but on LP1C, there is a note to the teacher. And what I'd like to do is just go through a few of these and just overview of the chapters here on this journey that we're on, of where we've been so far in this journey. The note to the teacher on chapter 1, of course the chapter's title is More Than Meets the Eye. And it says, how often do we as adults confuse someone's personality, how they present themselves to others, with their character, their morals and ethics? Do you ever catch yourself saying, you seem like such a nice person, I just can't believe it. Or I never thought she would do that. Well, yes, even as adults, we can make a mistake. We can mistake a pleasant personality for a positive character. This is how con artists work. If this can occur to us as adults, how much more likely can it occur to our children? So we need to be aware. These are the things we're trying to get across to the student as a teacher of the Peaceful Solution. We want to give them these scenarios. We want to give them these experiences that people have had so they don't have to go through it themselves. I know we've all had this situation where we thought, oh, they seem like a pretty nice guy, that type thing, But it can go to the extreme. I had a supervisor in Houston, Texas, where I used to work. This supervisor lived on one block there in Pasadena, Texas, and on the other side of the block, right behind him, almost catty-cornered, a man lived there with his children, family, and everything. Real nice guy. They'd eaten before barbecue and stuff like that. They knew each other. Don't know how close they were exactly, but the man that lived in the house behind him was arrested for serial murder. He could not believe it. He knew the guy. How could that have occurred? He seemed like such a nice guy. He's got children that go to the same school as my children. My children have been to his house. How could that occur? See the extremes that this can take on? You've got to really guard yourself and guard your possessions, guard your children, guard it all. Be careful of what you allow. So there's more than meets the eye to what you see. Let's go ahead and turn to LP2A. LP2A, that's right at the beginning of chapter 2. The effects of character within the family, and this is the note to the teacher again. The role of the family is paramount to our self-concept and how we interact with others. Therefore, this second chapter focuses on the family as one of the most important contributors to the development of character. Sadly, though, we live in a society where children are routinely abused in a variety of ways. And this talks about the positive family, and it also talks about the negative family and the things that can take place and what we can do to help alleviate that and have positive family growth. This is another one of the things. Now, this is a touchy situation. You as a teacher of the Peaceful Solution need to be aware that especially in classrooms, there's always going to be somebody who is having a problem at home. And you can notice, I think Chris went through this thoroughly, of how you can notice, or even talking to the counselors, they'll tell you, that's a situation that we really need help with. So be aware of that. LP3A, Chapter 3, The Making of a VIP. The note to the teacher says the concept of what makes people important varies from one individual to the next, of course based upon their values and their learning in the Peaceful Solution. Some say power, fame, wealth, or a combination of all these is what makes a person important. But the true measure of importance of any individual begins and ends with moral character. This is the belief of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. And we can see that, all you got to do is turn on the news, and you'll see where, somebody that was very important and had power and fame and wealth has committed suicide or had a wreck from risky behavior, or got divorced from another wealthy, famous person, and so forth. So you can see that that's not the answer. Don't strive for that. Strive for this great moral character that can come your way, because nobody can ever take that away. You can give it away, but no one can ever take it away. You can't say that about much else in the world right now, because everything can be taken away. Except that. Keep that in mind. Something you can hold on to, right? Okay, LP4A. Now that I have it, how do I keep it? You know, we're about halfway through this journey of the character unit here. Note to the teacher, this chapter explores that it is not just about acquiring the things we want, we must also care for, guard, and protect the possessions we treasure. In this way, we will retain their value and keep them functioning properly. Remember, that goes back to maintaining also. You know, it's your values. What you value, you're going to maintain and take care of. So herein lies the art of this maintenance. How many things do we maintain on a daily basis? Our cars, our homes, other valuable possessions. But the intangible things that you can't touch, like character, well, guess what? How often do we consider that our integrity must be cared for, guarded and kept in proper working condition? Well, so this chapter helps prepare us for that, you know. And this is not just something that you read one time and put the book on the shelf. You keep these books handy. This is, I don't know, this is about my 5th or 6th character unit right here, teacher's manual, and I'm just using it for some of the notes tonight. It got so bad, some of the pages, that, you know, I got another one that I can now care for. You know, I tried to care for this one as best I could, but through use, it just gets that way. So we move on and get another one, okay? So let's go to LP5A, I'm sorry, LP5A. Let's go to LP5A. All right. The ripple effect, character, society, and the world. Okay, the ripple effect, remember, positive or negative, it has a ripple effect, our actions. The me generation is aptly named because we've been taught from a variety of sources to look out for number one, ourselves. Well, we don't teach that. The Peaceful Solution Character Education Program teaches you to look out for others too. When you're looking out for others, you are looking out for yourself. Let's go to LP6A. Chapter 6, I Can Make a Difference. Now this is the note to you, the teacher, or training to be a teacher. In this chapter, students will learn that given the right motivation, encouragement, and skills, that they all have the potential to be leaders. We all do. No matter what age, young, old, alike, we all have the potential to be leaders. You have to keep that in mind because we are teaching in everything that we do, all our actions, and we have that ripple effect. And if it's positive, you know, we can end up being like one of the young men in the narratives. We can end up being a leader without even knowing it until people take notice. Okay, LP7A, Chapter 7, All I've Learned. This is where we're at right now. We just went over some of all that we've learned. And so what you'll want to do is set your goal. We live in a goal-oriented society where children are taught from an early age to have some perception of what they want to be like when they enter into the adult world. Well, children and adults alike, you'll want to be like the author of the Peaceful Solution. How about that? And, you know, you'll want to practice this peaceful solution so that you can be a leader, a positive leader, and you can be a motivation to the entire world. So on this journey, you're going to have a couple paths you can take, okay? This journey called life. If you turn to page 2, I want to remind you, we went over this in the very beginning, but I want to remind you of a road less traveled. Here's what it all boils down to. You don't have to go on the route that others have been taking with the risky behavior and the bad scene and so forth. You can take the road less traveled. It's not going to be the most popular road or the road your friends are taking, unless you already know how to choose your friends. But here's another fact. Life is about making choices. And the choices you make, you know, we're given the opportunity. It's set before us. What's set before us is that with positive character will come rewards, and positive actions will come rewards. With negative character and negative actions are going to come consequences. So it's set before you, the rewards and consequences, and it's up to you to choose which way you want to go. Nobody can force you. The choices you make, the ones that could save your life, will be based on your development of a positive character, and the only way to develop a positive character is to start paying attention to what's going on the inside, on you. That's right, today, right now, on the inside. So along with keeping up your appearances, you must keep working to develop a positive, morally justifiable character. In order to avoid those bad scenes we talked about, you have to start building a positive character and start making choices that are decided ahead of time, setting your mind in advance, giving yourself room to grow, being carefully concerned about your reputation. So you want to start making those choices that are decided ahead of time and are consistently responsible, respectful, and honest, and that's just to name a few. This introductory unit of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program will lay a foundation of moral character development that can remain within you for a lifetime. Anybody listening to this right now, you're not going to forget everything here. You might forget some of it. If you don't continue on in learning the Peaceful Solution, you might forget some of it, but you're not going to forget it all. There's going to be something back there, this small voice back there every now and then, that it's going to pop up and remind you of what you heard, what you learned when you are learning the Peaceful Solution, when you watch these classes, when you get the books or you go online and download these. It's going to be back there, and you'll think about it from time to time. Make the right choice. So within these pages lay a wealth of knowledge, facts, and techniques that will prepare you to reach your full moral potential. That's right, not just the skills, but the techniques to apply them to. So pay very close attention in these classes. What you will learn in the next several weeks, still continuing on, even in the next units, you can use for the rest of your life. Just remember, your character is what makes you who you are. It will determine what you will stand for and what you will fall for. If you stand on a positive character, you will not regret it. We believe that the principles contained in this book, when applied to your everyday life, will bring you such an abundant living you will be forever appreciative. And I can guarantee you that. It's up to you. Take hold of the principles that bring success and never let anyone deter you from its path. So, no one's too young to choose this right path. Remember, it's a road less traveled. The road less traveled. Take it. That's the one that you want to take your journey on, this journey called life. I'd like to remind everybody that I think it's this coming Wednesday. We'll have classes again at 5:30. And I believe Chris will probably be teaching, and he'll be going over, again, what we've learned so far, not only in this particular chapter, chapter 7, but in the book also. So we look forward to seeing everybody again, and thank you for being here. Thank you.